finish on the death penalty? I'm not really clear on what your answer was. You favor it, but do you favor certain exceptions, or you talk about safeguards too? Is it universal support for it, or is it only in extreme cases like the murder of a police officer, or what?
The death penalty is, of course, a very extreme punishment, and we must, as with every punishment, make sure it is done fairly and only in appropriate cases.
So,
if it was applied to situations where a police officer, as in the Mortel tragedy, that would be very, very applicable. That would be very, very.
The last time it really bubbled up here was in the Jeffrey Curley case. It was a young boy from Cambridge who was kidnapped and murdered and dumped in the river. Would you support it in that kind of case?
In a case like that, that absolutely would be appropriate.
Okay, so what's the defining characteristic there then of death penalty in that instance? What is it?
Under our laws, the death penalty is, of course, the most severe penalty, and it's not applicable now in Massachusetts. I would favor a reasoned approach to the implementation of the death penalty here. Yes.
You put the spotlight on public corruption as one of your priorities. Can you talk about specifically what would you have done differently in some of these cases that have come up in the past couple of years? What would you do differently to crack down on that?
As of January, we will have a public corruption strike force that will be sufficiently staffed with prosecutors and police officers and staff and directed towards cracking down at Beacon Hill. As a former prosecutor, I know not to comment on cases where I don't have all the facts. We'll have the facts when the public corruption strike force is underway next year.
But are you holding Martha Coakley responsible for the situation with Diane Wilkerson?
With respect to this campaign, we're talking about what has not happened. There has not been vigorous enforcement of public corruption laws in Massachusetts. We know what is going on at Beacon Hill. The Beacon Hill Boys and Girls Club is, as I mentioned before, it's a free-for-all where corruption, waste, and fraud are rampant. Let's stop that.
One of the cases